Hey, welcome back. It's been a little while since I've made a video. I wanted to update you guys. I now have a Hasselblad X2D. This is my camera now. I upgraded to the X2D from the M11. The M11's great. I just ended up getting the Flex 2, keeping that on there all the time with the grip. It became much bigger, and I eventually decided that, if I'm gonna have a bigger camera, it'd be nice to have even better image quality along with autofocus. So I'm gonna talk about some of the pros and cons that I've noticed so far with this camera. I've had it for about a month, and I've tried out the 28, 38, 55, 65, 80, and the 120 macro. Talk about those and my general thoughts. Maybe that'll help you decide. Now, all this stuff I bought myself. No one's sponsoring this video. This is my genuine findings and opinions. So let's get into some of the pros and cons. We'll start with the cons. I noticed that there is hot pixels in pretty much all the camera bodies. Now, I did a bunch of research and found that's kind of common with mirrorless cameras, but at a price point so high, you kind of expect perfection. This is actually my third X2D body. The first one I bought from a forum, and the guy did not even disclose that the screen was cracked on the back. So as soon as I got it, I was like, hey man, the screen's cracked. So anyway, long story short, he gave me my money back. And the day I got my refund, I noticed on B&H that there was a used X2D at a good price. So I bought that, and it had about 7 burned out pixels on the screen on the back. Now I'm saying burned out pixels, but I guess I mean hot pixels. I don't really see them when I put them in the computer. So real quick, the thing about hot pixels and the X2D is if you run the firmware update on the camera and a sensor calibration, it generally maps them all out. You see them if there's like black in the image. Say, we're taking a picture of this, and over here, if you're flipping through on the camera on the back, in the black, you can really see these hot pixels. Now, on this particular body, I have 2 blue ones and an orange one, but they're not very bright. They're very dim. It's not a big enough issue for me to want to return this body and get another one, but that's something to kind of look out for when you're getting an X2D. Those other 2 bodies, I don't know if this is an older body thing because I'm assuming this is pretty brand new. I got it from B&H 2 weeks ago. With those other 2 bodies, I noticed when I was mounting the lenses, there'd be some play after you locked it on, and this one is extremely firm. There was a fair bit of play. I would say maybe this much play, however much that is. And that's not what you want when you lock a lens on. You don't want to feel it shifting. That's something to look out for when buying one of these cameras. If it's not up to your standards, then I'd recommend finding one that is, because this is a big purchase. Between that, now we're just talking about some cons here. There's no live view in the Focus app, which I have an Android phone. So I went out and bought a iPad mini just to work with my camera. And when I hooked it up, I was let down that there's no live view on the app. Not yet. Hopefully they update that. But I will say it connects to the app very easy. My M11 never wanted to connect to the app. That was one of the main straws that broke the camel's back with that camera. July 5th, I was in my garage trying to take a self-portrait because I like to do that every once in a while. I had this cool Coogee jacket on, and it's hot in my garage. And of course, my M11 would not connect to my phone, so I could see what I was doing. Went into Bluetooth settings, unpaired it, uninstalled the app, repaired it, installed the app again, in the correct order. I did that. I must have done that 5 to 6 times, and it still would never connect. And I genuinely was on the verge of just throwing that camera down my driveway because it was frustrating me so bad. I'll mess up a camera. On X2D with iPad mini, it connects practically instantly. The photos, you can edit them very quick, save them. I can upload them straight to Instagram. I can use the iPad thing where you can share with people instantly. What's that called? Whatever. I can use the Apple Share to other Apple device. It's really nice. I plan on taking this camera with me on adventures, and it'll be nice to have the iPad in my backpack, put the photo right on there, and upload it straight to the internet, like while I'm still doing my adventure, instead of having to take it home like I had to do with my Leica, put it on the computer, export it, email it to myself or whatever. But the Photos app does not have live view. Not a big deal. I wish we had a black and white preview on the back here. I generally like to shoot that way. The colors are so incredible on this thing that I find myself not even wanting to use black and white anymore. So one thing I would always do with black and white was, shoot raw and put it on the computer. If the colors were great, then I would share it that way. But generally, I'd end up putting it to black and white and just kind of doing black and white because I was not a big fan of a lot of the colors I was getting, and I don't like spending forever tweaking them because I never seem to be happy once I start tweaking. But with this guy, it's just ready to go. Battery life's not incredible, but I got a second battery with the dual charger, and that's extremely affordable considering this is a Hasselblad product. Oh, also I just got one of these. This is a close focus like filter. I also got an extension tube behind me, but with extension tubes, you have to take the lens off the camera and put it back on. And this is my first time like looking into a closer focus option for a lens, because this 80 will only focus to 70 centimeters, which is not bad. 2.3 feet, kind of like arm's length. It's not bad, but sometimes you want to focus closer, and I don't want to have to take my lens off and put it on a tube to focus closer, because what I found with either one of these, yes, you can focus closer, but you cannot focus anything past like arm's length. So I knew that the infinity focus would go away, but I didn't know that pretty much all focus would go away except for a window of about this much room. So it's nice to keep this in the bag. I can toss it right on here and focus close if I want to real quick, and not have to deal with like dust getting on my sensor. The X2D and 80mm 1.9 fit very well in this low pro bag. I bought all this stuff myself. I'm not sponsored. This is just what I have found shopping around. But it fits in here excellent, and so does that little B&W filter. If you're using the 55mm or the 38, the new V series lenses, this SH120 from Low Pro, it fits in there great. And this takes up like no space. It's almost Q2 level. And the bigger guy is the SH140. Cons are, hot pixels on the screen. Battery life's not incredible. It doesn't have live focus. I would like a video option on this camera. I know a lot of people are against that. I don't know why. I'd like a black and white preview, and that's it. That's the only issues. The autofocus is fine. I don't understand why people are upset about that. It might not be, it's not the fastest, and this isn't a sports camera, but you could do sports with it. The first lens I got with this camera was the XCD 65 2.8. I brought that to an arm wrestling tournament that I was competing in, and it did just fine. I didn't do the best job taking photos that day because I was also competing, and I was more stressed out and worried about getting on stage and getting beat in front of a bunch of people as I was worried about getting perfect images. So I shot most of that at 6400, and I will say that's kind of another con. The higher ISOs, 6400 does not look great on this camera. I would recommend, honestly, trying to keep it at 16 and below. Okay, so let's talk about some lenses. So we'll start with the widest, the 28 f4. It's one of the newer lenses, but it's not a V, so it does not have the ability to pop the ring out and manually focus. It doesn't have the customizable ring either. And the image quality I was not a fan of. It felt, well, first of all, it was really distorted. I say that because I had the 20mm 4.5 Zeiss for my Leica M, and that lens has like zero distortion at 21, and the 28 f4 is essentially a 22. The way to do the math on these medium format lenses to see what you're getting in a 35mm setting is you just multiply whatever you have by 0.79. So this is the 80mm 1.9. 80 times 0.79 is a 63mm. So you see 63mm widthwise, but you have the compression of 80, which I'm a big fan of compression. And 1.9 times 0.79 is about f1.5. So it's really a 63 1.5. And that 28mm f4 is really like a 22mm f 2.9 or 8, maybe something like that. I wasn't a fan of that 28 f4 at all. And the focusing on it sounds kind of like when you're printing on paper, while the 38 and 55 are dead silent. Now, real quick, between the old XCD lenses and the new V lenses, I found that I much prefer the sun stars on the older lenses. It's kind of hard to say at this point, but I've found that I've liked my images better on these older lenses than the newer ones. I don't know if that's because they're so much heavier and there's more glass in here. On the sun star note, that was one of the first things I noticed when I got my very first X2D and the 65 2.8. I aimed up at my trees and stopped down a good bit to see what the sun stars looked like, and they looked fantastic. It was such a cool look. I've never seen that on any other camera before, and that was one of the main things in the back of my head when I was returning the first one. I was like, yeah, I definitely want an X2D. I like this cool little new feature that I'm getting, and was kind of a deciding factor in why I stuck with this system. It's not the deciding factor, but I remember being like, yeah, man, those sun stars were very unique. So when I got the newer V lenses, the 38 and the 55, and stopped down to see what they looked like, I was definitely let down, and I'll show you examples of that. The older lenses kind of have this very sharp point at the end of the sun star, and with the newer lenses, that point kind of flares out, and they're not as dramatic. So, like I said, I found that I prefer the image quality on these older lenses. They do focus a little bit slower than the new lenses. So if autofocus is a big deal to you, the 38 2.5 on an X2D is going to be a very fast focusing camera, and it'll pretty much do everything that you want. Let's go up the lenses. 28 f4, not a fan, very distorted. The 38V 2.5, great lens. Hardly any distortion, very compact. Looks great on the camera. I mean, the new V lenses do look better, but this doesn't look bad at all. Say you just needed one lens, pretty much the 38V is the way to go. You can take portraits with it. I actually brought it downtown Charlotte with me, and I rode my bike around just to test it out. It's a great little lens. It's a great like travel lens. It's much lighter than this. This lens weighs 2.5 pounds. So this is kind of heavy. The 55V is also a great lens, but it's kind of like, you don't get the great compression for a nice portrait length lens, in my opinion. And it's not quite wide enough to tell much of a story, but it's still a really good all-around lens. But it's like if you, between the 38 and 55, I kind of feel like the 38 is much more useful. After the 55V, I had the 65 2.8, and I brought that to the arm wrestling tournament with me. It worked fine. I mean, that's an athletic event. I got some action shots with it. So I was shooting at 6400, and I don't know. Like I said, I wasn't in photographer mode that day. I did really good, though. I got second place, state championship. I'll upload some matches real quick.
Ready, go! Stop! Woo! Ready, go! Stop! Woo! Ready, go! Stop! Woo! Stop! Winner! Woo! Ready, go! Stop! Woo!
Go! And now I have a big match next weekend, which I don't know if I'm prepared for. 2 days ago, me and my dad went to this fitness equipment store that's in my city. They have everything, usually. I wanted to get a preacher curl and some Hex dumbbells and an adjustable bench, and they had nothing. They had nothing in stock. So when we were leaving there, we were driving by a railroad track, and I was like, Dad, just pull over real quick so I can take your picture, because I had just got this lens, and I wanted to like do something while I was outside. So I just had him stand in front of the railroad tracks and got a pretty cool shot. And that kind of made me decide, okay, I know I really, really like this lens because of the way it was rendered. I feel like I can decide relatively quick on how I feel about a lens based on just taking a couple shots with it. I really like the 80mm 1.9. This is going to be my main lens. Oh, and also with the 65, the shutter did not sound good at all. It's the worst sounding shutter out of all the Hasselblad lenses I tried, which they all sound different. The 38 and 55 are basically silent. So is the 28. I guess you can hear this one real quick. Hold on. Let's turn it on. Boot up time, I just hit the power button, and now I'm ready to take a picture. Okay, here's what this one sounds like. Sounds good. And the macro 120 f3.5 sounded about the same as this one does, but that one also had great sun stars. I like the macro. It was just f3.5 for my fastest aperture. That's probably fine for most people. I just have to be a little extra. But the macro was great for portraits. Took another shot of my dad at our lake house. I didn't do like portrait shoots with these. I've just taken them around, tested them out real quick, and these are my general findings. So wrapping up, cons is you're probably gonna have to deal with some kind of hot pixels on the camera, but that seems to be kind of normal now with mirrorless cameras. I'm not sure why all of us are taking it, but I guess we are. No live view in the Focus app. I would like a black and white preview, but that's about it. Battery life is still fine, and like I said, they're cheap. If you're getting this camera, just go ahead and get a second battery, the dual charger. I do think I'll keep this and the 38 as my combo, but I'm also kind of hanging out a little bit because I'm hoping they announce even more lenses. I wouldn't mind like a faster, I don't know what I would like. I know I like this. I don't need this many options. Oh, and also, this is a little Oberworth wrist strap. It's rated to hold like 60 pounds, I think. And I have it tied into a Peak Design tripod mount, or whatever these little squares are called. I just looped it around one of the holes, and it gives me a nice little wrist strap. Because with a camera this expensive, I'm trying not to drop it. Even though I generally don't like to use wrist straps, I'm making an exception. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you want to see anything from this camera. I want to take this time to say thank you for watching that video, but I have some bad news, or good news. I have some news. I actually got rid of the X2D like the day after I filmed that video. I took the Hasselblad to Charleston with me, had the 80mm 1.9 on there. I was trying to take a picture of someone standing in front of a window, just like a nice candid shot. Tapped on their face, tried to focus with the shutter. It just zoomed in and out. The focus box turned red, started flashing. It just wouldn't focus. I actually ran into a few headaches that day with that combo. And as I'm driving home, it's like a It's like a 3-hour drive home. I'm eating at a Waffle House, and I see the Fuji GFX 100 Mark II is coming out. Looks pretty good. So I actually ended up buying one, and I'm happy to say that I have no regrets making this upgrade over the X2D. So I have a video about this coming out pretty soon. I've done, I think, 6 different portrait shoots with it and some travel and behind the scenes stuff. So now my photography Instagram did get messed up about a year ago, so I had to start over. My Instagram is Milwore, Milwore. Please follow it because I have like no followers right now if you want to see, what I'm up to. Thanks for watching the video anyway.